Hello, everybody. Happy New Year 2022. And I know I'm a little bit late. We're already well into January by this time, but I've been taking some time off for, just handling some challenges in life. All okay, but things that we all need to go through and some medical concerns for a family member and an aging family member. So, you know, that can be challenging for anybody who's gone through those kinds of things. So I did some travel and now I'm back. So I'm happy to be here. And I am Tammy Langowski. I'm an intuitive reader to your questions, working with clairaudience, mainly my clairaudience and clairvoyance. And I come on here and give some channeled messages from our guides to maybe specific topics or questions that viewers might have. So I did have a question that was given to me by a viewer. Thank you so much for that. And the question is a good one, as they always seem to be. They're really good ones. So the question was, can anyone become a psychic or spiritual advisor, or do you have to be gifted? Second part of that would be, and if so, how do you become a psychic or spiritual advisor? So really great question. Again, can anyone become a psychic or spiritual advisor? Okay, so of course, what I do is I go in and just open up with my guides to channel any information. I'll probably have some feedback on that as well, because I've been doing this for over 30 years. So hopefully I have something valuable to share. So guides, what about that? Can anybody be a spiritual advisor, psychic, or do you have to be gifted? Okay, well, they're saying yes, anybody can be, but it all depends on how much you want to be. So they're referencing like anything else. Some people may feel like, oh man, it'd be great to, I don't know, pick any profession. We'll say be a doctor. Okay, not everybody's going to agree with that. Let's just say I'm just picking a profession. And then we might say, well, does one have to be gifted to do so? In some ways, yes, you have to maybe feel a calling to help people, to have an interest in healing in itself and how the body works and those sorts of things. But could anybody be that? Sure, anybody who wants to delve into that, let's say, and do the work and go to school and learn all the things you can do, anybody could become one. So I'm using that analogy, or guides are really, to give you an example. So to that question again, yes, as far as becoming a psychic, because you probably heard this term over and over, that everybody is kind of born psychic. We all have our innate intuitive abilities that we do use, usually on a daily basis. Sometimes it's really obvious to somebody. Sometimes you may not pay attention as much to it. So we would say again, sure, I think so. But do you have to be gifted? Well, it helps, they say. However, you're already gifted. Many of you, as they're just saying, have had experiences already that have been under the psychic line of things, whether you're really great at knowing when your best friend's going to call you, or any of those kinds of things. We always go back to meditation being a real key to learning. This is going a little to the second part of that question, to really learning to open and make that practice of really going within and being able to hear. So I think, I would say from my experience, certainly I was not doing this as a child. I had experiences, but not unlike a lot of people do, but I had an interest. So let's start with that, an interest. When we really delve into something and we keep going with it, we really have to have an innate interest and a thirst for it. And that's really kind of what happened for me. I was very interested in things as a child. I've talked about this a little before, but for that, back then in those days, it'd be like, oh, scary movies and stuff was kind of cool to me. I liked all that stuff. And then for me, it was about, going to other intuitives for readings and so forth. That helped me a great deal. And getting involved then in meditation. Can't say that enough. Meditation really is the key to learning your grounding, your protection, and excuse me, getting to know yourself really well and your space and your energy, not so much with the goal of being a psychic and being a psychic reader, but more for the enjoyment of being in that and being open. things can come very naturally after that. You can start posing questions to your guides and see what comes in for you. So I would say yes. I think anybody potentially can be, but does everybody have the desire to go through and work toward that goal like anything else that you might think would be really a great thing to do or an exciting thing to do? Lots of people will say that to me, like, wow, Tammy, you got a great job, or I love that. And I don't deny that. I'm so very grateful for what I do. And yes, I mean, I think I've always had that feeling of compassion for other people. I'm not saying I haven't been judgmental of other people or perfect in that way, but certainly I have, that compassion. And now as an adult, I can look back on that and see, as a kid, where some of those things were really coming up for me, either how I wanted to help other kids, or that I felt were struggling in some way, or just weren't accepted by others. And I really pride myself in that now. I didn't do huge things, mind you, like you hear some kids doing nowadays, but definitely I had those feelings. So I've always been, had I not been doing what I'm doing, had I decided to go after a 4-year college degree, which I did not, for me personally, I have no regrets about that at all. But had I decided to, it would have been under something with psychology, social services, something along those lines. Because, innately, I want to help people, and I'm concerned about emotional states of mind and so forth. But I'm doing what I wanted to do, and it really slipped in for me, but not without me taking my meditation classes, taking my healing classes. Practicing is the next thing I was going to go to. Anybody who's interested in these sorts of things, if you've already got a really good practice of meditation, then you can start exploring with that, and protection. I always talk about that as well. What do we mean by that? We mean, well, for me, I have visuals that I use of big white giant roses. I've talked about this before around my energy field, with setting intentions. I'm only working with those in the light. So once you kind of get good at the grounding piece of that and all, you can start practicing. You can ask friends if you can, give them some feedback on some things, or maybe have them pose a question to you and see what you get back. So yes, I do feel that, well, I feel like many of you already are doing that sort of thing, and you know who you are. You're the ones that love to help people, that they come to you with their problems, and geez, seem to be really good at giving them advice. Well, yes, it could be your own experience of advice that you're giving. It could also be you're getting a little help in bringing forward some really important messages that they might need. So practice, practice, practice. That's how I would say, how do you become one? Keeping in mind, for me, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I started in my mid-20s, and it was, again, meditation, that sort of thing. And that's what I did after a while. I had, I might have talked about this before. I had really interesting experiences that first my guides were communicating through my body, meaning they would, I would allow this to happen, of course. I wasn't taken over or anything like that. But that overwhelming connection I had, I've talked about it before, of just love, can't say enough about it. It was really spectacular. And other people have had these kind of connections as well. And then it was about, they would come in and shake my head yes to answers when I allowed that to happen, or no, and you see I talk with my hands quite a bit anyway. Well, when my guides come in, usually when I'm really channeling, like if I say now a message about this, okay, see, they just said with my hand, I allow them to do this. What they just said, tell them all that you know. So thank you, I'm on the right track. Okay, they are just confirming that for me. But that's what they would do. They would come in, and you'll see me do that when our guides are clearly coming in super clear with me, or I'm really, really focusing on their energy. I don't always have to do that, but I allow them to use my hand for expression. So that was happening. And then the clairaudience piece came. I remember asking them, I'm repeating myself if anybody's been watching the videos probably, but I asked, would I ever be able to hear you? And I remember them shaking my head yes. And I'm thinking, oh no, really? But they were shaking my head yes, that would happen. And it did. I started trusting that. There was a process to that as well, of learning through my meditation, of opening up to that. So I would say practice, practice, practice. And again, you can ask friends and people that, if it ever feels comfortable to ask a stranger under the right circumstances, if it feels right to do that, if you may, that's open to that, you'll know if it's a right situation to ask that question. But that is one way you can definitely start getting involved in that. You really would want to practice a bit and get a good practice under your belt, so to speak, before you're charging money for it. Just out of fairness, you want to make sure that it's feeling right for you, and it's okay to be compensated if that's something you're interested in. Maybe you're not. Maybe you just want to do this for fun on the side of your other job, and that's fine too. So hopefully that kind of helps you in that. But most definitely, really, all of us have those abilities. Some will say they do not. I beg to differ because, everybody's probably had that, like I said, that nudge, that feeling, oh, isn't that weird? I was just thinking about that and then it played out. Or I had this feeling, this gut feeling. We all know, those of you who are watching who are, very interested in these things understand that completely. So it is possible for all of us. Don't ever feel like, oh, you must be gifted, so to speak, which I understand the question though. But in order to be able to do this, we're all gifted with abilities of, and they range. Some are going to have a stronger clairsentience, sensing, feeling, knowing, the gut feeling, right? I just feel things from people. I kind of know what's happening. Oh, I knew that's how they felt. There's the clairaudience where you're actually hearing information coming in. Sounds like this, the sound, mind you, of my own voice, but I've learned to put my thoughts aside and let them come in. Sometimes I get it audibly, not very often. Usually for me, it's that way. Clairvoyance and being able to see energy. Again, I see a lot of things in my mind's eye more than outwardly. I do have and have had experiences. I will only say honestly, probably 2 times, maybe 3, that I've seen spirit visibly. Most of the time it's in my mind's eye where they'll come in, they'll show me a form, or they'll pop in and say hello. I had them do that before. It's kind of fun. Literally like right in front of me, like kind of making fun of me, like, here I am, hi. So I see that in my mind's eye, which a lot of intuitives, mediums and so forth will work that way. I always say for me, my clair audience is my primary ability. That is what I rely most on in a session, but I definitely bring in the other clairs, the clairsentience, clairvoyance as well. But I love to listen to our guides and what they have to say. It's our guides, our angels, masters, and they're also very loving. So anyway, back to your question. I hope that answers that for you. And again, I don't want to say practice makes perfect, but you get my point on that. The more that you're practicing and meditating and taking time more with that, I'm going to emphasize that again, then becoming that psychic advisor or intuitive. More that you are spending time with you in that state of being that feels really, really good, and getting good at feeling what your energy feels like. And then start working on some of the tools of that, of course, the protection. And you might pose questions to your guides now and then and start trusting what you're receiving. Often we don't do that, and our guides talk to us every day. Unless you just don't want to be talked to, then they respect our privacy as well when we need that. But they give us things. It doesn't mean you don't have your own thoughts, not like you're being taken over or anything like that. But they're here to guide us. And yes, they will back off when they know, hey, this isn't that person, our beloved one that we're helping does need to go through this journey. But we will be there as a support when they turn back to God, source, and the angels and divine for guidance. So that's what I have for you on that. I hope that was helpful for you. And again, everybody, thank you so much for watching these. As I always say, if you have a question, as this wonderful viewer gave me, then just put them in the comments and we will do our best to address those for you. So I hope your new year is off to a good start. And there are some things out there right now that are a little challenging, but you know what? We can get through this. We're pretty resilient, as we often hear in general. So hang in there, be strong, ask for your guides and guidance from source. Prayer and all of that good stuff is super, super powerful. I know you know that, but but I just want to emphasize that for you. Okay. So thank you again. Take care, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.